First contact and disbelief. The vast expanse of space stretched out before this Cathari survey vessel, a tapestry of stars and nebulae that had long since lost its wonder to the crew. Captain Nixera stood at the helm, her 6 eyes scanning the various holographic readouts that surrounded her. The ship had been charting this unexplored sector for nearly a standard cycle, and boredom had set in weeks ago. "Another empty system," muttered First Officer Vexlor, his tendrils twitching with frustration. "Perhaps we should petition the High Council to redirect our efforts to more promising regions." Nixera was about to agree when a sudden alarm blared through the bridge. "Captain," called out the sensor operator, his voice tinged with excitement. "We're picking up an anomalous signal from the third planet of this system." In an instant, the atmosphere on the bridge shifted from tedium to electric anticipation. Nixera glided over to the sensor station, her hover pads humming softly. "Show me," she commanded. A holographic representation of the planet materialized before them. It was a blue and green world, not unlike many they had encountered before. But what caught everyone's attention was the pulsing red dot on its surface. "It appears to be some sort of automated beacon," the sensor operator explained. "But the technology, it's unlike anything in our database." Nixera's outer eyes narrowed while her inner ones widened, a sign of intense curiosity among her species. "Can we decipher the message?" The communications officer worked feverishly at her console. It's not in any known language, Captain. But there's something else. An image embedded in the signal." With a flick of her tendril, Nixera transferred the image to the main view screen. The bridge crew collectively gasped. The image showed beings unlike any they had encountered in their extensive explorations. Bipedal creatures with only 2 eyes and strange, fur-like growths on their heads stood before a primitive spacecraft. In the background, a blue and white sphere was visible, unmistakably the same planet they now orbited. "Impossible," whispered Vexlor. "Could it be humans?" The word hung in the air, heavy with implications. Humans were a myth, a legend whispered about in the darkest corners of space stations and in the most speculative of scientific journals. They were said to be a species of unparalleled adaptability and ingenuity, capable of feats that defied the laws of nature as understood by the galactic community. Nixera's tendrils coiled tightly, a sign of deep thought among her people. "We must investigate further," she declared. "Prepare a landing party. We'll send down probes first, then follow if it's safe." As the crew bustled with activity, Nixera couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of a discovery that would shake the foundations of their civilization. If humans were real, and if they had once inhabited this world, where were they now? And more importantly, what were they capable of? The probes were launched, streaking through the planet's atmosphere in fiery arcs. As data began streaming back to the ship, the truth became undeniable. The surface was littered with the remnants of an advanced civilization, cities reclaimed by nature, vehicles half buried in the earth, and most intriguingly, vast underground complexes that still hummed with residual energy. "It's true," Vexlor said, his voice filled with awe. "Humans were real. They lived here." But Nixera's scientific mind was already racing ahead. The question is, where did they go, and why did they leave? As the Cathari began their careful exploration of the planet, news of their discovery spread like wildfire across subspace channels. The myth of humanity was about to become the most important scientific inquiry in galactic history. Across the galaxy, in the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, the news was met with skepticism and fear. Council member Zixtor, a venerable elder of the Quilian race, pounded his gnarled fist on the hovering podium before him. "Preposterous," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the vast hall. "Humans are nothing more than a tale to frighten younglings. Next, you'll be telling us you found the cosmic cedars or the void dancers." But archaeologist Lyra Fain of the Sentient Historical Society stood her ground. Her holographic form flickered slightly as she addressed the council. "With all due respect, council member, the evidence is irrefutable. The Scytheri discovery matches too perfectly with the legends. The bipedal form, the level of technology, the very planet itself. It all aligns with the ancient stories. As the council bickered, out in the fringes of known space, a small scout ship made an extraordinary find. Captain Nixera, who had been leading her own expedition since the initial discovery on Earth, could hardly believe the readings on her sensors. It's a Dyson sphere, she breathed, staring at the massive structure that encompassed an entire star. And it's of human design. The Dyson sphere was a feat of engineering that surpassed anything known to current galactic civilization. It was a perfect sphere that captured all the energy output of its star, a construct of such scale and complexity that it defied comprehension. As Nixera's ship approached, they detected no signs of active life. But deep scans revealed something extraordinary. Millions of stasis pods, each containing a sleeping human. "By the cosmic void," whispered Vexlor, Nixera's now grizzled first officer. "We found them. We've actually found them." But before they could report their discovery, alarms blared throughout the ship. Unknown vessels were rapidly approaching, their designs unlike anything in known space. "Multiple contacts," shouted the sensor operator. "They're not responding to hails, and their weapons are hot." Nixera's tendrils coiled tightly. "Evasive maneuvers. We can't let them know what we found here." As her ship desperately tried to escape, Nixera realized with growing dread that these might be the devourers the humans had fled from. If so, the galaxy was in far greater danger than anyone had realized. Back on the Dyson sphere, deep within its core, ancient systems began to stir. The attack on the Scytheri ship had triggered long-dormant defense protocols. In millions of stasis pods, human vital signs began to fluctuate as the awakening process initiated. Humanity was about to re-enter a galaxy that had forgotten them, faced with a threat they had hoped to outlast. The Great Sleep was ending, and the universe held its breath, unaware of the changes that were about to unfold. In a secret facility on a distant world, Dr. Ilara Chen, one of the few humans who had remained awake as a guardian, watched the monitors with a mix of anticipation and fear. "It's too soon," she muttered to herself. "We're not ready yet." But ready or not, events had been set in motion that could not be stopped. Humanity was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the first humans began to stir in their stasis pods, the ancient AI that had watched over them for millennia spoke its first words in eons. "Rise and shine, humanity. The universe needs you." Across the galaxy, as news of the Dyson sphere and the attacking ships spread, panic began to set in. The myth of humanity was becoming reality, and with it came the terrifying prospect of an ancient enemy returning. In the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were called. Plans were drawn up. Fleets were mobilized, and every available resource was poured into understanding and potentially contacting the awakening humans. But in the shadows, other forces were moving. Not everyone welcomed the return of humanity. Some saw it as an opportunity, others as a threat to their power. Assassins were hired, spies were deployed, and secret alliances were formed. The galaxy stood on the brink of a new era, one that would be shaped by the actions of a species long thought to be nothing more than legend. Humanity was about to make its grand re-entrance onto the cosmic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. Awakening the sleepers. The massive Dyson sphere hummed with newfound energy as millions of stasis pods began their awakening sequences. Within the central control hub, Dr. Ilara Chen worked feverishly to manage the revival process. Her fingers flew across holographic interfaces, eyes darting between dozens of screens displaying vital signs and system statuses. Come on," she muttered, willing the ancient systems to hold together. They had slept for so long, far longer than originally planned. There was no guarantee everything would function as intended. In one of the primary revival chambers, the first pod hissed open. Captain Marcus Drake, once the youngest fleet commander in Earth's history, took his first breath in over 10,000 years. His eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the soft blue light of the chamber. "Easy there, Captain," a soothing voice said. A medical android helped him sit up, running quick diagnostics. "You've been asleep for a long time." Drake's voice was hoarse from disuse. How long?" The android paused, its processors whirring as it calculated. "Approximately 10,427 standard Earth years, Captain." The news hit Drake like a physical blow. They had planned to sleep for a century, maybe two. But this was beyond anything they had prepared for. "The Devourers?" he asked, dreading the answer. "Unknown," the android replied. "But our awakening was triggered by external factors. We may be facing imminent threat." As more humans awoke across the Dyson sphere, a similar scene played out countless times. Confusion, disbelief, and a growing sense of urgency permeated the air. In the control hub, Dr. Chen finally allowed herself a moment of relief. The revival process was proceeding as smoothly as could be expected, given the circumstances. She turned her attention to the external sensors, trying to piece together what had triggered their awakening. A holographic display showed the Scytheri ship, still desperately evading the unknown attackers. Chen's eyes widened as she recognized the design of the pursuing vessels. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." She quickly opened a communication channel to the revival chambers. "This is Dr. Ilara Chen to all awakened personnel. We have a Code Omega situation. This is not a drill. Repeat, Code Omega is in effect." Throughout the Dyson sphere, klaxons began to blare. Humans who had just awakened from millennia of sleep now rushed to battle stations, muscle memory kicking in despite their long dormancy. Captain Drake, still groggy but driven by years of training, made his way to the command center. "Dr. Chen," he called out as he entered. "What's our situation?" Chen's face was grim as she brought up a tactical display. "It's the Devourers, Captain. They've found us, or at least they've stumbled upon our location. They're attacking an alien ship that got too close to the sphere." Drake's jaw clenched. "Then we don't have a choice. We can't let that ship be destroyed, and we can't let the Devourers know we're here until we're ready." He turned to the weapons officer. "Warm up the Helios cannon. Let's remind these bastards why they feared us." Outside the Dyson sphere, the Scytheri ship was on its last legs. Captain Nixera had exhausted every evasive maneuver in her considerable repertoire, but the attacking ships were relentless. Just as she was about to order her crew to the escape pods, a blinding light erupted from the Dyson sphere. A beam of pure energy, harnessing the power of the star itself, lanced out across space. It caught the lead Devourer ship dead center, vaporizing it instantly. The other ships scattered, clearly caught off guard by this unexpected resistance. On the bridge of her ship, Nixera stared in awe at the display of power. "By the cosmic void," she breathed. "The humans, they're awake." Inside the Dyson sphere, Captain Drake allowed himself a small smile. "Good shot," he said to the weapons officer. "Now let's welcome our guests properly. Prepare a docking bay for the alien ship." As the Scytheri ship limped towards the massive structure, the remaining Devourer vessels regrouped. Their communication channels buzzed with frantic activity. The sleepers were awake, and the hunt that had lasted millennia was about to reach its climax. Dr. Chen approached Captain Drake, her face a mix of concern and determination. "Marcus, we're not ready for this. The revival process isn't complete, and we have no idea what's happened in the galaxy while we slept." Drake nodded grimly. "I know, Laura. But ready or not, the fight we've been preparing for is here. We'll just have to adapt." He managed a wry smile. "That's what humans do best, isn't it?" As the Scytheri ship docked, humans scrambled to make first contact preparations. Linguists were woken up early, translation matrices were hastily updated, and a welcome party was assembled. Captain Nixera, still in shock from the rapid turn of events, led her crew off the ship. As the airlock cycled open, she found herself face to face with the stuff of legend. Humans in the flesh stood before her. Captain Drake stepped forward, hand extended in what he hoped was still a universal gesture of peace. "Welcome," he said, the translation matrix converting his words to the Scatheri language. "I'm Captain Marcus Drake of the human race. We apologize for involving you in our conflict." Nyxera's tendrils waved in what Drake's cultural advisors identified as an expression of awe. "The myths. They're true," she said. "You're real. You're really real." As the two captains began to exchange information, Dr. Chen was already organizing teams to analyze the data from the Scatheri ship. They needed to know what had happened in the galaxy during their long sleep, and they needed to know fast. The Dyson sphere buzzed with activity as more humans awoke and were briefed on the situation. Weapons were checked, ships were prepped, and long-dormant war plans were dusted off and updated. In the depths of space, the Devourer fleet regrouped. Their prey, hidden for so long, had finally revealed themselves. The final hunt was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Humanity, the sleeping giant, had awakened, and the universe was about to remember why they had once been both revered and feared throughout the cosmos. Humanity unleashed. The great Dyson sphere, once dormant, now thrummed with frenetic energy. Humanity, roused from its millennia-long slumber, was rapidly adapting to a galaxy that had long considered them myth. Captain Marcus Drake stood at the center of the command hub, surrounded by a whirlwind of activity as his species prepared for the conflict they had hoped to avoid. "Status report," Drake called out, his voice carrying over the controlled chaos. Dr. Ilara Chen approached, her holographic display flickering with streams of data. "We've got about 60% of our population revived and combat-ready. The rest are still in various stages of awakening. Our fleet is at 75% operational capacity." Drake nodded, his face grim. "It'll have to do. What about our guests?" On cue, Captain Nyxera entered the command hub, her tendrils twitching with a mix of awe and anxiety. "Your ship production facilities are impressive," she said, her translator struggling to find an adequate word. "I've never seen anything like it. Necessity breeds innovation," Drake replied with a wry smile. "Now tell me about the galaxy we're waking up to." Over the next few hours, Nyxera briefed the human leadership on the current state of galactic affairs. The political landscape had shifted dramatically in humanity's absence. New empires had risen, old ones had fallen, and the balance of power was in constant flux. "And nobody remembered us?" Dr. Chen asked, a note of disbelief in her voice. Nyxera's tendrils drooped slightly. "You were legends, myths, stories to frighten children or inspire explorers. Until we found your homeworld, most believed humans were just tales." Drake's jaw clenched. "Well, the galaxy's about to get a wake-up call. The Devourers are real, and they're coming for all of us." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the Dyson sphere. A young lieutenant's voice came over the comms. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. It's a Devourer fleet, sir. Bigger than anything we've seen before." Drake's eyes hardened. "This is it, people. The moment we've prepared for. All ships, battle stations. Initiate Operation Lazarus." Across the Dyson sphere, massive hangar bays began to open. Ships of all sizes poured out, from nimble fighters to enormous dreadnoughts. Each vessel was a testament to human ingenuity, incorporating technology that had been theoretical when they entered stasis. Nyxera watched in amazement as the human fleet took formation. "By the cosmic void," she whispered. "You've been preparing for this all along." Drake nodded. "Every day of our slumber was spent simulating, improving, adapting. We knew this day would come." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to the Galactic Council. Tell them humanity has returned, and we bring warning of a threat that endangers all sentient life." As the message was dispatched, the first wave of Devourer ships dropped out of hyperspace. They were biomechanical monstrosities, more akin to spacefaring predators than constructed vessels. At their center was a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest human dreadnoughts. That's their high ship, Drake explained to Mixera. Take that out, and the rest become disorganized. Easier to pick off. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in recorded history. Human ships danced through space with impossible agility, their weapons tearing through Devourer bioarmor with practiced precision. Yet for every Devourer ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. In the command hub, Dr. Chen worked furiously at her console. Marcus, she called out, I think I've found a weakness in their hive mind network. If we can disrupt it, we might be able to confuse their entire fleet. Drake's eyes lit up. Do it. Chen initiated a complex series of commands. Suddenly, the human fleet began broadcasting on a frequency that caused visible distress among the Devourer ships. Their formations became erratic, their attacks uncoordinated. Now's our chance, Drake ordered. All ships, focus fire on the high ship. The combined firepower of the human fleet converged on the massive Devourer vessel. For a moment, it seemed to shrug off the assault. But then, cracks began to appear in its bioarmor. With a silent explosion that rippled through space, the HFY ship split apart. A cheer went up throughout the human fleet. The remaining Devourer ships, now cut off from their central intelligence, fell into disarray. Some fled, others fought on blindly, but the tide of battle had decisively turned. As the last Devourer ship was neutralized, a stunned silence fell over the command hub. They had done it. Humanity had faced its ancient enemy and emerged victorious. But Drake knew this was only the beginning. Send word to all awakened human colonies, he ordered. It's time to come out of hiding. The galaxy needs us. Across the stars, other Dyson spheres, hidden planetoids, and cloaked space stations stirred to life. Humanity, in all its diverse glory, prepared to re-enter a galaxy that had forgotten them. In the Galactic Council chambers, the message from humanity caused an uproar. Some counselors called for immediate alliance, others for caution, and a few for outright isolation from these legendary beings. High Chancellor Orcs raised his limbs for silence. The age of myth is over, he declared. Humanity has returned, and with them, a grave threat to all sentient life. We must decide, here and now, how we will face this new era. As debates raged in the Council and human ships began to appear in systems across the galaxy, the universe held its breath. Humanity had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the command hub of the Dyson sphere, Captain Drake looked out at the stars, a mix of determination and uncertainty in his eyes. Well, he said softly, we're back. Let's hope the galaxy is ready for us. Galactic upheaval. The return of humanity sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Long-held beliefs crumbled, power structures shifted, and a sense of both hope and fear permeated every corner of known space. In the cycles that followed the Battle of the Dyson Sphere, as it came to be known, the galaxy underwent a transformation unlike any in recorded history. Captain Marcus Drake found himself thrust into the role of humanity's primary representative to the Galactic Council. As he stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds, he couldn't help but feel the weight of his species' destiny on his shoulders. Members of the Council, Drake began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. Humanity extends its hand in friendship and alliance. We return not as conquerors or myths, but as fellow sentients committed to the defense of all life against the Devourer threat. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, translator matrices struggling to keep up with the multitude of languages. High Chancellor Orcs raised his upper limbs for silence. Captain Drake, Orcs said, his voice resonating with authority, your return has caused great upheaval. Some see you as saviors, others as a threat. How can we trust a species that hid from the galaxy for millennia? Drake's eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gazes of beings both familiar and utterly alien. Trust is earned, Chancellor. We offer our technology, our knowledge, and our strength in the fight against the Devourers. But more than that, we offer a promise. Humanity will stand with you, not above you. In the following days, debates raged across the council. The Pleiades Confederation pushed for immediate alliance, while the Orion League counseled caution. Smaller factions saw opportunity in aligning with the newly returned humans, while others feared the upset to the galactic balance of power. Meanwhile, Dr. Ilara Chen led a team of human scientists in sharing their advanced technology with the galactic community. Faster-than-light drives were improved, weapons systems upgraded, and medical techniques revolutionized. But it was in the field of artificial intelligence that humanity's impact was most profound. The key to defeating the Devourers lies in understanding their hive mind. Chen explained to a group of alien scientists. Our AI systems, developed over millennia of simulated conflict, can predict and counter their strategies in real time. Not everyone welcomed these advancements with open arms. Protests erupted on some worlds, fear of the mythical humans, driving isolationist movements. Reports of attacks on human outposts trickled in, though they were swiftly dealt with. As tensions rose, the Devourers struck again. This time, they targeted the Rigelian core worlds, a densely populated region far from human space. The attack was swift and brutal, overwhelming the local defenses before a distress call could even be sent. In the council chambers, the news hit like a supernova. Billions of lives were at stake, and the Rigelian representative pleaded for immediate aid. All eyes turned to the humans. Captain Drake stood, his face set with determination. Humanity answers the call. All available ships move to assist the Rigelians. This is the moment we prove our commitment to this galaxy. What followed was a rescue operation of unprecedented scale. Human ships, faster and more advanced than anything in the galactic fleet, arrived in the Rigelian system within hours. The battle that ensued was fierce, but this time, the galaxy was prepared. Alien ships fought alongside human vessels, coordinated by AI systems that predicted and countered every Devourer move. On the ground, human combat units deployed to evacuate civilians, their powered armor and advanced weaponry turning the tide against the Devourer ground forces. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Chen made a breakthrough. "Captain," she called over the comms, "we've isolated the frequency of the Devourer hive mind. If we can broadcast a disruptive signal across the entire sector." Drake didn't hesitate. "Do it." The signal went out, carried by a network of hastily constructed relay stations. Across the Rigelian system, Devourer ships began to falter. Some turned on each other, others simply shut down. For the first time in known history, a full-scale Devourer invasion had been repelled. As the dust settled and the enormity of what had transpired sank in, a new era dawned for the galaxy. Humanity, once a myth, had proven itself a shield against the darkness that threatened all life. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council convened once more. This time, the mood was different. High Chancellor Orcs addressed the assembly. "We stand at a crossroads. The humans have demonstrated not just their power, but their commitment to the greater good of all sentient life. I propose a new alliance, with humanity as full members of our galactic community." The vote was nearly unanimous. As Captain Drake shook hands, or tentacles, or pincers, with representatives from across the galaxy, he felt a profound sense of hope. Humanity had found its place among the stars. But the story was far from over. The Devourers, though dealt a significant blow, were not defeated. And there were still mysteries to be solved. Why had they attacked humanity in the first place? What drove their relentless expansion? As the newly forged alliance prepared for the challenges ahead, Drake couldn't help but smile. Humanity had slept for millennia, become the stuff of legend. Now, they were wide awake and ready to write the next chapter in the galaxy's history. Dr. Chen approached him, a glint of excitement in her eyes. "Marcus, you won't believe what we've just discovered in the Devourer wreckage. It looks like, well, you need to see this for yourself." Drake nodded, squaring his shoulders. The myth had become reality, and reality, it seemed, still had plenty of surprises in store. As he followed Chen to their new discovery, Drake knew one thing for certain. The greatest adventures of humanity were yet to come.